Hey folks, Jeff here. Let me walk you through 5 jobs you can do after you retire from your career. You know, your permanent job, things you trained all your life to do and are probably still doing. Now, these jobs are based on high school diploma and or minimal college, which I think a lot of us fall into that category. Doesn't mean you're less skilled. It just means you took a path a lot of other people have taken. You know, it might be a trade school, you might be an electrician, who knows, plumber. So I think you get the idea. Now, are these the best jobs? No, these are fun money. And we'll cover that in a minute. Now let's get right to it. Security guard. Yeah, security guard. I mean, not a glamorous job, but at this point of your life, are you really, does this matter anymore? You're just trying to make the fun money. Now, security guard. Many cases with a little training and very often flexible hours, you can earn a few bucks while getting a little exercise and a few social interactions throughout the workday. Now, I'm not really going to cover the details of the job because I may not have had these jobs, just something I've found. Now, before hiring on to a security company, make sure you're very clear to the company the hours you can and will work. A lot of these places will hire you on and then not listen to whatever you tell them you're scheduled to be, and they'll do what they want to do, and then it could lead to problems. And I've seen this with a few other retirees. All right, now, the second job, auto parts delivery. Yes, auto parts delivery. A vast number of auto parts stores have these types of jobs and very often have flexible hours. You know, something you could kind of, tune into the day or whatever, or whatever. Now, keeping in mind a driver's license will be the standard at this job. Also, with this employer, be very clear which hours and days you can work. Because once again, it's kind of a customer service thing. They'll hire you in at this and then try to schedule you for that. And maybe not the hours you actually like. Now, the next job is something I don't see in the paper, but I happen to run into a guy who was doing it. Now, this one is kind of different. Tombstone cleaning service. Yes, tombstone cleaning is a thing. A number of years ago, I ran into a guy who would come out and clean up around your loved one's tombstones. Using bio-friendly cleaners, things like that. Maybe a small weed trimmer, around the headstone. They kind of clean it up. And graveyards typically don't do that kind of fine detail. They cut the grass and pick up the trash. It's about it. Now, you can tailor your service per the family's needs and generally work during the nicer months of the year, whatever that may be, wherever you live. Now, the guy I knew who did this was making about $300 to $500 a week cash. Once people start seeing him around the graveyard, kind of sounds terrible, but they start seeing him, start asking him, hey, would you do my loved one's gravestone, clean it up for me? We're coming out on the weekend, Easter, whatever. People go out there for a lot of reasons. He started to make some decent money for mostly easy work, and being easy, he didn't have a boss or have anybody else, pushing him around out there. And he tailored it to how he wanted to do it. Now, before we hit the last 2 jobs, I need you to understand, these jobs are not in any kind of order of importance or hourly wage. These are fun money. These are your beer money, your lotto ticket money, things like that. Something to do, something to stay active. Now, there are too many of these videos out there which focus on all the extra schooling and all the extra experience of a regular 40-hour career, whatever it might be. Jobs like nursing, teaching. Here's a big one I see all over the internet. Business consulting. Or jobs that will require a lot to just do to begin with. in the first place. Now, these are just low-end service jobs, easy. You can make your money, go home, and not be responsible for a bunch of things. Now, jobs I've listed here, like I said, are minimal commitment and minimal experience to qualify for. More often than not, it's just a clean driver's license and a clean background check and putting a body somewhere that generally people start their careers off and work, and this is where they start or where they finish. Now, you do this because, like I said, you want a little extra money for lottery tickets or a few dinners in town or whatever, give the grandkids some money. And that's why you're doing these things. If you're driven to keep working hard, making as much money as you can, make sure you consider just staying at your career, or you can do that. Now, the last two jobs, and like I said, no order of importance or hourly wage. General housekeeping services. There are so many of these little agencies around that do nightly cleaning of businesses and offices and things like that. They clean up the bathrooms, fill the bathroom dispensers. And generally you work alone. You get a kind of a schedule and you just do your thing and you go home. And once again, you work under minimal supervision. Because at this point in time of your life, who wants to be pushed around any longer? You left a career where they had these rigid guidelines. You don't want to live like that anymore. You're just trying to make a few extra bucks. Once again, for a little extra spending money. Now, the next job, or the final job, like I said, no order of importance. Medical courier. And I've kind of seen that, and this seems to be around urban areas, stuff like that. If you're out rural, out in the country, these probably won't apply to you, or you'll have to drive too far to make it worth it. But they deliver time-sensitive materials, medical documents, prescriptions, lab work, and generally you just got to pass a background check, a drug test, and have a reasonably clean driver's license, something that you're insurable and possibly bonded. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about these jobs as I'm just delivering a starting point and a few options for you to check out and consider. Now, these are not long-term jobs or career jobs. Just go to work, do your job, go home. But in them types of jobs, what's the benefit is you don't have to take it home with you. You don't have to be concerned what happens before you get there or after you get there, just while you are there doing these jobs. Remember what I said. If you are at retirement are still trying to make big bucks, then consider just staying at your career. These jobs are just fun money. Right? Cut grass, do whatever. There's a million of these jobs. I just thought these were kind of unique. So what I want you to do, though, is hit like, share, subscribe, and all those things in regards to YouTube. And check out some of my other videos. And thanks for watching. Remember, I'm Jeff in Ohio.